Hello cuties, it's me, Eternally Elle, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be talking about that one awkward stage of healing that no one really talks about. That one middle part of healing where you're like in limbo almost, of getting so close to transforming into the person that you want to become and stuck in the same old habits that may be holding you back. Maybe you're still allowing people into your life that aren't doing the best for you. Maybe you're still catching yourself thinking thoughts that your old self would have, and you catch yourself. So I kind of want to talk about this because I feel like it's not as talked about enough. Like, usually people just talk about the before and the after, which of course makes sense because it's the biggest transformative thing that a person can do. Like at your lowest, you're in bad habits, you're around bad people, you don't love yourself fully, versus a fully healed version of you where you are living your dream life, you are surrounded by people that love and admire and appreciate you for you, you have a positive mindset when it comes to yourself and other things, and you're just living your dream life. But no one talks about that middle part, which is kind of what I'm in right now, because as you guys know, I do give you guys advice that has helped me throughout my healing journey, but I'm still going through it. I'm still documenting my healing journey. This is why I started this channel. So the middle part is basically where the isolation begins. Okay, and I know this far too well because when you start healing and actually doing better for yourself, people that were not meant to stay in your life fully automatically start filtering out. And that's the reality, not even just with healing, but just with growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you start doing better for yourself, once you start becoming on a bigger level as opposed to the level that you were on when you met these people, of course you guys aren't going to click anymore. And there's no hate in that, There's no beef with that, A lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't want that person to be mad at me, like, just because we're on two different life paths. That's completely fine. Why are you allowing someone who's not on your level to drag you down? Why are you letting someone who's not on your level to, just be jealous of you or just be envious of your growth? Because everyone we meet, they're either a lesson or they're here with us till we die. Okay, and that's pretty morbid, okay? But you were born alone and you're gonna die alone, no matter what. Even if you are in a loving, lasting relationship or marriage, you're gonna die alone. Because you and your partner, unless you guys get into a crazy accident, you guys aren't going to die at the exact same time. Okay, you come into this world alone and you leave the world alone. So why do so many people struggle with being alone? And this is exactly what I mean with the isolation period, It's the middle part of your healing. It's the in limbo part where you're just like, well, damn, now that I've filtered out all these people, now that I'm really on my own, figuring myself out and figuring the world out, especially if you're on the younger side going through your healing journey, what do I do now? That's basically what you might catch yourself asking yourself, because you're just like, I'm just so tired of being alone sometimes. I don't like this isolation. I don't like being alone with my own thoughts, actively trying to fix my thought process, actively trying to fix what I say, all of these things, quitting oversharing. It's different for everybody, but I'm just trying to speak in a more general sense. But the middle part of healing, or the limbo part of healing, is usually when people go back to their old habits. They're tired of being alone, they're tired of being isolated, they're tired of just the noise that comes from their own mind. That they'll go back to a drama-filled life, because at least that life was filled. Even though, that life was filled with traumatic events, toxic people, being in a toxic relationship, at least you weren't alone, And a lot of people fear being alone. And I preach to you guys all the time to never fear being alone, because you never know what could happen. You could still be in that drama-based lifestyle, not really caring about the people within your life as long as they're just around you in your life and you're just not alone from the outside. Those were the periods where you will feel the most alone. Imagine being in a room full of people that you consider your friends, but they don't even know your favorite color. They don't have interest to get to know you on a more deeper emotional level. You're going to feel more lonely around people than if you're actually just by yourself and comfortable within your solitude, I'm at a period in my life where I know I'm in the middle part, but I'm leaning more towards my self-concept and my fully healed version, because I would like feel lonely at times, right? And then I'd be like, damn, I kind of wish I still had this one person in my life, or damn, I still kind of wish I had a lot of people around in my life, even though it was toxic, but then I think back to those moments, that I'm like romanticizing in my head for some reason because now it's gone. And then I remember how lonely I felt, how sad I was. I am in a much better mindset and headspace now than I ever was before. So why do we seem to crave that drama in the past? Why do we seem to crave the hurt in the past, Because your brain could definitely paint a picture where it was way better than it actually was, to gaslight yourself into thinking, oh, it wasn't so bad. Oh, well, there were definitely good moments, blah, 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 And I feel like people that went through trauma or just emotional abuse, especially, will romanticize the past because that's when things were, quote unquote, more simple. That's when things were just, you were just going by society's standards, like whatever. And people that went through emotional abuse or trauma tend to romanticize the past, tend to think back on the past and be like, hey, it wasn't so bad, because they're used to the chaos. They're used to drama. People that were hurt before and they start their healing journey and now they're in the middle, they might just go back to their old habits. They might just start talking back to people, And I'm not here to shame you guys if you guys have done that, but just know that you're not gaining anything from it. If anything, you're just going to learn the same exact lesson that brought you to this middle isolation period in the first place, okay? Like, you're not alone because, you're a loser or like, you're a freak or just like whatever like stupid reason that you guys can think of, right? That your mind tells you, like the bad side of your mind, the old past thought process version of your mind. You are going through this isolation period because the universe sees something within you. And I know a lot of times like people could be like, oh, well, like you guys just say that about like the universe to make ourselves feel like no. Like truly, I'm the type of person to believe that everything happens for a reason, for real, especially in my life. Because it's just like, there's no way I came this far just to come this far. There's no way I went through all those toxic situations and abusive people just to meet myself at this point and just go back to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that I'm holding out for something so great that the universe is like, hey, you gotta be on your own for a while. You gotta learn about yourself. You gotta create standards. You actually have to stand your ground and stand on your word. Stand on business. Because why would the universe grant you with such beautiful things that align with the version of you that you want to become if you keep thinking about the past constantly? If you're not fully healed yet. And by fully healed, I mean like you're basically untouchable. Like people can hurt you and you can just move on like that. Or by fully healed, I mean you put yourself first always, like your boundaries are as clear as day. You know what I'm saying? Because when people say fully healed, you guys tend to think in such black and white and be like, oh, well, fully healed means I'm happy all the time. I'm never sad. I'm never depressed. Like, no, that's not what life is. That's not what living as a human, an emotional being is, It's just knowing yourself best, being okay with being alone, having your own, and only allowing people into your life that give you more access to things that you didn't have or make your life better than it already was. Because why would you let someone into your life that just makes it worse, that just adds more stress, all of that stuff, right? So I'm just here to remind you guys that the middle part is probably the most isolating part in your healing journey, the most hardest part, because you are constantly losing people that you no longer align with, and that can feel very, very lonely. Trust me, I know. It can be really hard, especially if you're on the younger side, For example, I'm 20 years old, and of course, I'm still young and I'm still learning a whole lot of things. I'm like pretty sure that I'm still figuring things out, of course, as a normal 20-year-old does. But I feel like, and this is not me like trying to be pretentious to be like, oh, I'm better than you or I'm smarter than you, but I truly don't think, or I truly don't believe that I think like other people my age. Like other people my age are getting into toxic relationships, thinking that's normal. They're in these friendships where they don't feel fulfilled, they'd rather be around people even though those people truly don't know them, just to be around people and just to not be perceived as something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm fine with being by myself. I take myself out by myself all the time, and a lot of people my age don't do that. A lot of people my age, they like to go out all the time with other people, and I still go out with other people. I still have friends, guys, but I feel like I just have such a mindset that other 20-year-olds don't have. Like, a lot of 20-year-olds don't think like me. A lot of 20-year-olds don't make content like me. All of these things, So I'm still learning things, but I feel like I've just already learned so much with everything that I've gone through that I can't really relate to 20-year-olds, to other 20-year-olds at least, unless I've known them for like a really long time and like we grew up together and we're still cool, we're still close. But it can be really hard finding someone maturity wise, like on my same wavelength. You know what I'm saying? So it can be isolating, because those who tend to not be average, those who tend to have different thought patterns and more mature mindsets are not going to blend into a crowd. They're going to stick out like a sore thumb. And I feel like I stick out like a sore thumb. And this isn't me like dunking on myself or being like mean to myself. Like, I truly believe that I'm just not meant to be average. And there's nothing wrong with that, Like, why be natural if you can be supernatural? You know what I'm saying? So this is for all my girlies that know that they're meant for something more in this life. And you deserve to want more in this life that you were given and to not be average if that's the lifestyle that you want. Some people are okay with being average, to each their own. But I just know that I'm not meant to live an average life. So this is probably why I'm in this period of my life right now. I'm getting myself together after so many years of putting others before my emotional needs, So I believe everything happens for a reason, and if you relate to this video at all, please don't go back to old habits, okay? I know it can be so hard, and you may catch yourself slipping up, but just remember, before you do something, if you're constantly going back and forth of being like, oh, should I do this? Should I not do this? Oh, what am I going to get from this? If you're constantly going back and forth and you can't come up with one logical reason, like, to why this would better your life, don't do it. It's not worth it. Just because it's familiar does not make it healthy. Please remember that, because a part of healing is change and a part of healing is growth, and you can't just keep going back to the same bad habits and expecting your life to change. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I really just want to talk about my experience on this because I know a lot of you guys can relate, and I know especially that I can relate because I know that I'm in this period of myself right now. So yeah, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at EternallyL, subscribe, and like this video if you did. Please comment something as well. I love reading your guys' really sweet comments, and I will see you guys next time. Love you guys.